nice to see you. We have a lot of people rolling in. We have a very exciting topic that we are going to talk about today. I've been having some incredible conversations over the last few months with a lot of operators, a lot of industry leaders, and that's why we thought it might be a good idea to do a session to give clarity on AI agents, if time permits, maybe a little bit of our roadmap and a little bit of a demo of what we're up to, right? Like, so we will start in a minute or so as people are still rolling in. The topic that we are covering today is AI agents and how you can use them, how you can deploy them to reduce burnout and build more, right? Like that's the goal. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of marketing talk around AI, and one of the aim that I have with this session today is to declutter all the technical jargon and talk real agents, right? Like real use cases and how you can deploy them. And depending on the nature of your business, how you should be thinking about deploying AI and AI agents at your business, right? So while people are still rolling in, I think we will just start, right? Start. As part of this presentation, oops, I think, sorry, wrong screen. Okay, so as part of this presentation, the way that we are going to do this, we are going to structure this call is we have about 30 minutes of presentation. It's not very long, just about 13 slides. We are going to talk through a lot of confusion, a lot of definitions. There's a lot of graphics, there's a lot of data in this presentation. Towards the end, we are going to talk about some real AI agents, how you can use them, what's on our roadmap. And at the end, there is going to be a question and answer session. So if you have any questions, there is going to be a dedicated question and Q&A section in your Zoom. So drop your questions in the Q&A and we will take them at the end of the call, right? Here is our quick agenda. Very simple, right? Like the presentation is divided into 4 major bits, right? Like what are AI agents? Will AI agents replace recruiters? It's sort of unbelievable to me, at least personally, that we still get asked these questions. But I think, more clarity. We've been talking about this for a while, right? Like, but I want to keep reiterating the point that we've been talking about, that it's a no, and what actually AI agents will do and they are doing as we speak today. Role of AI agents, right? Like, so not all recruiting businesses are created equal, right? Like, so depending on the nature of your business, how you should think about deploying AI and some of the common agents, and if time permits, some of them in Recruiterflow, right? Like, so that's the goal here today. So let's dive right in. What are agents? So there are lots and lots of words being thrown by by industry experts, by marketing teams all over. So we thought we will take a moment to declutter some of the technical jargon, right? Like, so we've got AI, we've got agents, and we've got AI agents, right? Like, so what's the difference? So this table is made to give you an idea about the difference between all 3. So AI is pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, so there are multiple different models, multiple different modalities with which you interact with AI in your day-to-day. But AI is essentially like, so your ChatGPT, your Gemini, Google search, the top AI generated answer in Google search, right? Like, all of this is examples of artificial intelligence at work. It's just technology, right? Like, it doesn't really do anything for you, right? Like, so if you ask ChatGPT a question, ChatGPT is again a great LLM-based AI engine. Agents, on the other hand, are automations, right? Like, they take actions for you. They get tasks done for you, right? Like, so a great example of agents is Zapier, right? Like, so if you have a lot of, if this happens, then do that kind of automations built in, and they get done automatically without any input from humans. These are called agents, right? Like, so if you're a user of Recruiterflow and you have used our recipes feature. Recipes are a prime example of agents, right? And combining these two, right? Like if to get a particular task done, if you are using AI in any of those steps, those are AI agents, right? Like, so AI agents have two distinct characteristics, right? Like one is that they are intelligent, right? Like, so they can take an input, process that input and give you an output. And the one of the things with AI is that even if it's the same input, it will give you different outputs if you run it different times, right? Like, so try asking the same question to ChatGPT twice, both the times it will give you different answers, right? Like, so that is, but so because there is an intelligence layer on it, and every time it tries to give you an answer, there is variability, there is variation in the output that it provides. That's number one. And number two, that it is context aware, right? Like, so AI agents do not operate in a vacuum. They're context aware. There's feedback loop built in to AI agents, right? These are two distinct characteristics of AI agents that set them apart from your ordinary agents. So there are a few examples, right? Like, so for example, any CRM or ATS that you use today will have resume parsing built in. So resume parsing uses fair bit of AI. Gmail spam filter, this is one of the prime examples of, one of the finest AI technology. Agents are, automatic actions like automatically send emails. Calendly is kind of, Calendly, the scheduling tools are kind of agents that automatically do stuff for you. AI agents, right, like they do a variety of different things. And we are going to talk about them in this presentation. All right, now, when I speak to leaders, right, like I hear all kinds of different opinions, right? Like, hey, will my business or will my people be obsolete because of AI, right? Like that's on one extreme. And on the other extreme, we've got, recruiting is all about that human touch, that relationship building. And if I use AI, right, like will I lose that human touch? Do I run that risk, right? Like, so I hear opinions on both extremes, and truth lies somewhere in between. And the question is, why should you take AI and AI agents seriously? So I was speaking to a leader a couple of weeks back. I asked her, hey, you know what, are you using AI? She was like, yeah, we are, very bullish on AI. We do it all the time. And then I asked, hey, so what do you do? What do recruiters do with AI? And she's like, oh, I have given a ChatGPT subscription to everyone. So now they are generating emails, they are generating job descriptions, they are, they analyze resumes with AI. Well, that's great, but that does not even nearly cut it in terms of how deeply you should be deploying AI and AI agents in your business. This is very generic. This does not, ChatGPT or any other LLM does not really have context of your business, right? Like, so its accuracy will not be at a level that you want it, right? Like, so, and there are a few market forces that necessitate adoption of AI agents, right? Like, so the first is, right, like recruiters spend a lot of time, right? Like anywhere between 1/3 and half of their time on non-revenue generating activities. So those activities are giving updates to their manager, updating CRM, chasing candidates, sometimes chasing clients, right? Like, so these activities do not contribute directly to the revenue, but they are necessary to be done for a business to run. So AI agents can help you reduce the amount of time that your team spends in admin work. And second market force is that we have rising compensation on one hand, and there is obviously pressure on fees from clients, right? Like, which means there is pressure on margin. So just a few weeks back, we analyzed all the large public staffing companies, and in last quarter of 2024, their margins were down close to about 16%, right? Like, and this is the big guys, right? Like they have a lot of levers, and despite of that, right, like their margins are down 16%. So there is obviously there might be some pockets where this is not the case, but if you look at overall the industry, right, like there is obvious margin on pressure. There is obvious margin squeeze that's happening in the industry. Now, to battle this, right, like you need AI agents. So one way of thinking AI agents is that this is your 24/7 workforce that keeps on working for you all day long without tiring, asking for leaves, right? Like so. And the core goal of AI agents is not to replace humans, but rather assist and augment humans, right? Like, so the idea is that with the same team, with the same resources, right? Like, how do we get more done, right? Like, get more work done, get more output from our recruiters, right? Like, so that's the idea behind AI agents, right? Like, so the idea is let the team focus on revenue and not the admin, right? So I get asked this all the time, right? But we now have a little bit more data to answer this, right? Like, so with some of our early deployments, right? Like the work that AI agents are doing, right? Like about 10% of it is essentially what used to be done by humans and it is now being done by AI agents. But 90% of the work that AI agents are doing was either humanly or economically impossible to get done, right? Like, and one example of it is like, think of having an apprentice that, joins every meeting with you, religiously transcribe every word, and then at the end of it gives you a summary of that meeting. And I see that we have some AI bots in this presentation as well, in this webinar as well, right? Like, so that's a great example of AI agent, right? Like, so it's a completely new use case that is being enabled by AI. And that's about 90% of what people are doing with AI agents today. So let's talk about what are some of the problems that AI agents should solve and should not solve, right? Like, so for example, you can ask AI agents to, analyze 1,000 resumes while you sleep, but they cannot have a conversation. They cannot build trust with people. They cannot help people navigate a complicated career move because it might be better for them in the long run. It cannot coach your hiring manager, coach your founder through their next key hire. These are all very human elements of what we do every day. And AI can assist and augment, but it's very, very far from doing all of these very high value tasks that recruiters do every. Now, I want to talk about how to think about AI agents in your business. Right? So at the very beginning of this meeting, I said that not all recruiting businesses are created equal. And the right way of thinking about it is, where do you lie on this spectrum, right? Like, so there's a very simple, there's a very simple rule, right? Like, as the complexity of the role increases, the number of candidates that you need to process decreases, right? Like, so let me give you an example, right? Like, if you're looking for a VP sales role, right? Like, the number of candidates that you will need to process, or the number of possible candidates that exist in the world who can be a good fit for that role, that universe is much, much smaller than, let's say, hiring an entry-level sales rep, right, for the same company, right? Like, so entry-level sales rep, your volume is going to be much higher, but complexity of that search is going to be much, much lower, right? Like, so that is so of course there are outliers, but in general, right, like there is, as the complexity of the role increases, the volume of the candidates that you need to process decreases, right? Like, so that's a very simple rule for, right, like that we see. And depending on the complexity and the volume, right, like that should drive your AI roadmap, right? Like, so let's get into a little bit more detail. And this is a crucial part. right? So we'll divide this very simple, right? Like high volume, mid volume, and really low volume executive search, right? Like so when we're looking at high volume, right? Like so let's think about roles that do not require a lot of nuance, right? Like so for example, I can think of a couple of examples. So for example, let's say security staff, right? Like you are in the business of staffing hospitality staff, like certain parts of hospitality staff, right? Are not very complex. And so the decision making, right? Like, so AI is reasonably accurate even at decision making. So here, and that's why we call AI agents here AI native, or there is another term that's going on in the market called full stack AI, which means that you should for a lot of things, right? Like you should be able to get AI agents to to screen candidates, to have a basic level of conversation with them, get information about them, from them, structure all that information, and then give a very small number of decision to make to the humans, right? Like so, for example, you've got let's say a security personnel staffing role, right? Like you can get a voice AI agent or AI chatbot or something like that to have a conversation with that person, get all their details about their availability, their all the compliance details and things like that, make a decision and give a short list of, let's say, maybe just about 15 candidates to the recruiter. Then the recruiter talks to all those 15 candidates and makes a decision, right? So instead of talking to maybe 120 candidates, the recruiter can talk to just to maybe about 10 or 15 candidates to get to the right hire, right? Like, so these are, I would classify them as AI native or AI full stack business models. And there is, if you're interested in learning more about this, I would highly recommend just search Y Combinator, startups, AI full stack, right? Like, so they've got a great YouTube video on how you should be thinking about AI full stack businesses. So that's one that does not for the roles that do not require a lot of nuance, right? Like where you can use AI to even do decision making. Then the next level is your medium volume, right? Like so your entry level white collar roles to maybe, let's say, mid-level roles, right? Like, so here is nuance. Right? So AI is going to be not very good at making decisions, finding patterns over here, but AI can certainly assist you, right? Like, so if you've got a database full of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in your database, right? Like lowering down, right? Like all of that to, like, let's say 100 candidates or 200 candidates that might be a good fit for this role, right? Like, so AI can make that level of decision, but after that, right, like AI will not be very accurate going from there, right? Like, so it is AI assisted, where it helps you increase your process speed, it helps you increase consistency, but the decision making still lies with the humans. And then there is third, which is executive search, and we will call that AI augmented, because there is AI is very not going to be able to even narrow down your choices, right? Like AI probably can help you do some talent mapping, some market research, but the main role of AI is to augment humans in their day-to-day job, right? Like, so for example, again, go back to the example of the note takers that I see in this meeting. Those are great examples of AI augmenting humans. They're not doing anything for you, are just, makes things easier, faster for people who are making those decisions, for people to take those actions that need to be taken, right? Like, so depending on where you lie in this spectrum, you should think about how you should be deploying AI. And now we are going to be talking about some of the AI agents and some of the use cases, right? Like, so we already spoke about, AI screening. There is obviously keeping your database up to date, structuring data. So we call that encoding agent, generating really, really great candidate summaries, right? Like, so you can feed a resume to ChatGPT and it will generate a summary, but ChatGPT does not understand what's the role, what's the brief from the client, right? Like, so Recruiter summary agent, for example, does that. It takes those things into account while it creates that pitch, it creates that summary of the candidate. Once you have, when you are doing interviews, when you're doing screening, AI agent can help you fill up that scorecard of the candidates, right? Like, so there's a scorecard agent. Email generation agent, again, right? Like this is probably the most widely used one. Everybody does it, right? Like use ChatGPT, use pretty much anything to generate great emails, great outreach and messages for your candidates, for your clients. And then in AI, augmenting your efforts, right? Like AI is actually pretty good at doing market research, right? Like, so what I would suggest is, again, it's $200 a month, but try out ChatGPT's deep research mode, or even Gemini and Claude have deep research modes, and they are fantastic. So just the other day, I asked a prompt, right? Like, hey, give me all the companies in New York, all the B2B SaaS companies in New York City that raised either a Series A or Series B between 2021. I tried multiple different models, and in my opinion, at least, right, like Google Gemini created a fantastic list of results. And then I asked it, right, like, hey, I'm looking for a demand generation manager for a B2B SaaS company that is going from Series B to Series C. What kind of candidates I should target, what kind of companies I should target to source from. And while not exhaustive, right, it did a phenomenal job of generating that research document that was near perfect, that you can even submit to your clients if you are in executive search kind of an environment, right? Like for your business development, right? Like if you, again, it does a wonderful job of figuring out, right, like if a company has any news, right, like if they have any executive movement, if there is any M&A or funding activity that has happened recently, right? Like, so agents are very good at consuming, right? Like these are research agents, so they consume a ton of information and give you in a very concise manner about, about the things that you care about, right? Like, so again, if you have not tried it, right, like even without context, right, like you should, if you want to see, right, like you can probably try out ChatGPT's deep research or Gemini deep research products. And of course, there's talent mapping agent. This is very specific to our industry, obviously, but since it is very good at doing account research and doing market research, it is very good at even doing talent mapping. While LinkedIn data or any other, people database is not public, but it gives you very good ideas about how we should go about, doing talent mapping for any search project that you might be embarking on. So let me try and demo one of these agents for you, right? Like, so here, oops, I think my screen sharing is paused. Let me share the right screen again. So this is a job change alert agent in Recruiterflow. This is one of the features that we released recently. And what it does is that if anybody in your database change jobs, change job titles, it will raise an alert for you, right? Like, so again, I will go back, right, like to saying that, hey, this was just humanly impossible to do earlier, right? Like, so if you have a database of, let's say, just about 10,000 people, going through all those 10,000 people, let's say every month, every week, and seeing if anything has changed, well, that was just nearly impossible. But not so much anymore, right? Like, so you can use this job change alert agent to do exactly that for you. And whenever it detects a change in job or job title, it will send you an alert, right? Like, so here I've got, like, for example, Katie, who moved from Scriba to Lokiti, right? Like just the kind of stuff that, it's never possible to do earlier, but it is possible to do now, right? Like, so that is one example of an agent. Let's look at another agent, right? Like, so we've got a couple of minutes left for the presentation. So here we've got my colleague Amog here, right? Like all I have is just this one note about him, right? Like assume that this is something that, while I was having a screening call, where I was an interview with Amog, he mentioned, right? Like, I'm happy at Recruiterflow. I'm currently getting paid $1 million. But if you give me a 22% jump, I will consider making a move, right? Like, so just a normal conversation that you might have with your candidates every day. So, and we have, we have his, let me just make sure that we have his LinkedIn resume in Recruiterflow for AI agent to kind of do its thing. We'll just make sure that it is updated. So anyway, so we will now go back to Amog's profile and we will ask Ira, which is the name of our AI agents, they suggest field updates, right? Like, so look at all the information that we have about it, right? Like, so all the call transcripts, all the notes, the resume, everything, right? Like, and figure out, right? Like some of these values that we have, right? It basically picked up from this note that his current compensation is $1 million. If he wants a 22% jump, that means it is $1.22 million. His seniority band, he's a director level person. His functional expertise is marketing, and under industry, tag him under technology, marketing, and SaaS, right? Like, so this is an example of an encoding agent. So think an agent who is listening to every conversation, whether that's on call, on Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, on your emails, LinkedIn, everything, right? Like, it's listening to everything. It is consuming all of that information and helping you structure that information and automatically updating your CRM as new information comes in, right? Like, so that's another example of an encoding. So a quick demo of the agent that we have. There are a lot more agents that are currently, so right, like when I showed that last slide in the presentation, those are all the agents that we are. Some are already released, some we are still working on, and they should be released over the course of next few months. And yeah, so one, if you want to nerd out on what are some of the agents, just like sometimes I do. There's a fantastic website that I really, really like. It's called agent.ai, which is like an agentic marketplace where people can just buy and deploy agents and integrate with any software that they want. Right, like, so there are a bunch of agents that people have built. This project was started by Dharmesh Shah, who's co-founder and CTO of HubSpot, right? Like, so he knows what he's doing, and there is some really, really good stuff over here, right? Like, I've tried this industry analysis agent, earnings call analyzer agent, really, really good stuff, right? Like, these agents are so good, right? Like, some of the things that it does, right? Like, some of the output is better than a graduate level, somebody with less than a couple of years of experience, right? Like, the output that they would give, the agent does in some cases better, but in most cases almost as well as they would do, right? Like, so so if you want to geek out on some of the agents, this is a fantastic, fantastic website to go through. All right, now this has been a wonderful session. Thank you so much for attending. Our marketing team will send out the recording next week. And have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever you are ahead. Thank you so much for attending. Bye now.